everyone, welcome to Bikini Design Club. On today's tutorial you will learn how you can sew our swimsuit pattern gal. If you want to get the pattern, you can get it on our online store at bikinidesignclub.com. And if you want to get to know it a little bit better before you decide to sew it, you also have an intro video which I will pop up a link cards on the top of your screen on the right side so you can watch the video. First thing you need to do is cut out all the pattern pieces just like it's mentioned on the paper pattern pieces. And then let's prepare our dart. I've made a lot of tutorials and I've filmed myself sewing the darts and showing you exactly how to do it. So in this tutorial this time I'm not going to be detailed regarding the darts, but if you don't know how to do them, just watch the Grace tutorial for instance and you will easily know how to do it. We also have a tutorial specially for darts if you want to watch it on our YouTube channel. If you've sewn our patterns before, you know that we usually have curved center back seams on our swimsuits and also on our bottoms, and this is also the case in the gal pattern. So place your fabrics right sides facing together and align the curved center back seam of your bottom. Pin it in place and sew. Repeat the process for the main fabric and for your second fabric. On this swimsuit you can use the same fabric for your main fabric and for your second fabric. You don't need to use lining. I used as my second fabric the red. Now that we have our back bottom pieces ready and also our darts ready, I'm just going to finish the bust point on my darts, tying the two knots on my tail, just like I've told you. You have a video on darts on our channel if you want to check detail how to do this. So I tie two knots and then I cut my tails, and my front pieces, my four front pieces are ready, and also my back bottom pieces are ready. Once my darts are ready, I also usually trim a little bit with a very sharp scissor the end of the dart, just opening it a little bit more. Now place the right sides facing together and we will sew all the places where I've placed the pins. I'm gonna show you. Place your front and then your symmetric front, right sides facing together, and pin on the neckline, under the arm and the other curve. Once you have them pinned, sew them applying the elastic on the side of your main fabric. Again, place right sides facing together and pin. Pin the armhole, the curve on the center of your back and also on your neckline, on the back of course. Again, we repeat the process for our two back pieces, and of course we will again apply the elastic on the side of our main fabric. It's time to combine your front with your back piece, bottom pieces. So place your front facing the right side up on the table, and then against it, of course, right sides facing together, align the side seams. Pin both side seams and sew. Don't need to apply elastic here, and repeat the process for your second fabric. Just a reminder that I used red for the bottom second fabric, so like if it was my lining, so don't be confused about me using the red, but I really thought it was a nice detail, despite you don't see it, but I really like it. As I told you on this video, I didn't shoot any images on while I was sewing, but if you want to see me how to apply elastic or any other things, you have a lot of early tutorials where you can watch that. So I now have my two front pieces ready, my two bottom pieces ready with the side seams sewn together, and also my back pieces sewn together and ready. And now it's time to combine the back with the front. If you want to add a tie strap on the back, on the center back, instead of a clasp, you can watch the YouTube tutorial on life pattern, which I'll pop up a card on the top screen right, so you can see how I did it on the life pattern. But since I'm not going to do that, I'm going to use the clasp today. What I did, the next step is to reverse your back piece to the right side and align the top of your seam from the back with the front on the top, and also the side seam with the side seam of my front where I have my darts. And once you have that perfectly aligned, you can go ahead and sew without elastic. Usually when I get to this step, and to make sure that my edges and my pattern pieces are completely aligned, I flatten the seams on the edges, I use pins, and sometimes I even do a basting stitch to secure the pieces before I go to my overlock or serger. We now have our front already sewn on the side and also on the top, and what I do is trim the excess fabric without, of course, cutting the threads that we have just sewn. Sometimes I do this with my cutter, sometimes with my scissor. And this seam, I forgot to tell you, you can do it on your overlock, you can use a zigzag, wherever you prefer. Now we can use the hole on our front pieces to reverse both of them to the right side, and for now they are ready. Time to sew the top pieces to our bottom. So the thing is, I'm gonna place my main fabric, so black and black also, and you can see that on my table I have my front, and if I align the front with the front, I can now align my ready top, the top that we have just sewn, on the center front. I pin it in place, and this means that this is the only connection that we have between our top part of the swimsuit and the bottom part. This small bit here that is pinned, and we do exactly the same for our other side. So again, right sides facing together, front with front, flatten the seam and align on the center front. Once you have all pieces aligned and pinned in place, you can go to your serger and sew, or use your zigzag if you prefer. This time I used my zigzag because I feel it's more accurate, and now you just trim the excess threads or a small bit of fabric if you have. And now you can lay your piece on the table, and of course place your top part of your swimsuit inside your bottom. It makes sense, I believe you can follow the images, and grab your second fabric, and again my back is in red and my front is in black, and I put it on the right side of the fabric. And now I'm going to place this inside the other part that we had on the table, aligning the front with the front, right sides facing together. So I will pin the side seams, I will pin the center back seam, I will pin the front, I will pin all the waist area, and I'm ready to go to my sewing machine and sew the entire perimeter of my waist. Forget to apply elastic all around on the side of the main fabric. You can now reverse all your swimsuit to the right side, and it's almost ready, but not yet. The next step will be to sew right sides facing together of your front and back pieces on the crotch area. So align your swimsuits and sew both your main fabric as also your lining, aligning right sides facing together of your crotch area. You don't need to apply elastic there, just sew that small bit and that's it. At this point, we actually had two options regarding this area. We could do one sewing with the 4 layers of fabric, or in my case today, I did it 2 times. I did the main fabric and then I did the lining. But if you are more experienced on aligning the fabrics and sewing, you can also go ahead and sew this area on one go, sewing the 4 layers together, of course correctly aligned so that your seam is hidden between the fabrics. Now let's move to the leg holes, the only area of the entire swimsuit where you actually will have a top stitch, which can be done on your overlock if you have the top stitch option, or it can also be done on your zigzag, so it's up to you. So the next step for me will be pinning the entire leg holes on both sides, and this time we will apply the elastic on the side of your second fabric. So in my case it's the side where I have the red on my back bottom. And once you apply the elastic with your overlock, we will then fold the edge of the fabric and secure this edge doing a top stitch or a zigzag all around the leg hole. Elastic is now applied on the leg holes, so fold and sew with your zigzag or top stitch. Don't forget, if you like our videos, to subscribe our YouTube channel. So now that you can see that the finish on the leg hole is quite nice with my zigzag, we can move on to the last step of our sewing tutorial. And this is, in this case, placing the clasp. You have all the sizes for the clasp on your sewing pattern paper pieces, so you can read there, but in this case it is a 2.5 centimeter clasp. And I'm now going very simply just insert it on one of the sides and sew it with a straight stitch. What I usually do is I use my zipper foot to go closer to my edge of my sewing so that I don't spend a lot of fabric on a seam allowance in this area. But if you don't want to do it like so, you would need to extend a little bit more the pattern in this area to allow you to sew your clasp. And once you do this, the swimsuit is ready. Don't forget that you can also use it as a body, a very sexy body. And that's it for today, girls. I hope you like, and don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel.